credit for that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't buy it for a variety of reasons, not least of which is that I see a lot of evidence that 3 through 5 were translated much later, not to mention the facsimile explanation.
Right.
I mean, it would be very hard to argue that was early. But, and, you know, like I don't think that the Masonic, like he found like 7 parallels to the Masonic cipher. That's probably not statistically significant. I mean, people find, I'd like some of those characters in the Anthem transcripts.
Yeah.
And people have proposed dozens of different derivations for the characters in the Anthem transcript.
Sure.
And, you know, the determined analyst can find parallels to virtually anything, I think. But, you know.
This is Chris Smith talking to Brian Hauglid.
Kind of originality. So,
kind of like a fiction novel, you mean? Something like that? Or
something like that.
So are you a Schryver?
Oh no!
I saw your name.
This is the one presentation pass, I guess.
Oh,
to make sure I'm not sneaking into the big love one. I guess.
Okay. Well, what's your real name then?
Oh, my real name is Lloyd Erickson.
Oh,
okay. He poses the narrator on the boards. I don't know if you've seen that.
I was hoping you weren't going to say Brent Metcalf. I was going to slap you.
Okay. No, Brent couldn't make it.
Darn it.
That's too bad. I was kind of looking forward to having lunch with him. So look up on a few things.
Doesn't he live in like Seattle?
Yeah, he's up there working on his computer
Halo
stuff.
Reach.
Yeah, something like that.
That was the latest one.
Yeah, but I guess I don't know why he couldn't come.
Who is this?
Reuben Dunn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're friends in life, but enemies on the message boards.
I heard it, yeah. It was. We looked for the.
This is Don talking to Chris and Brian.
Whatever.
What a lousy angle.
Characters?
There we
Did you
go.
notice the exact sequence you did? I didn't.
Okay, well, it's in my John Whitmer paper.
Oh, is it?
That's where Will got it.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, in my opinion, the reason that the sounds and explanations are different in alphabet and grammar is just that Joseph Smith didn't think that Egyptian was the pure language. It was kind of related to the pure language, so he doesn't give the same explanation. That would be my hypothesis here.
So, but they would have the other document in front of them?
I think so, because the characters are there in the same order as they are in the specimens of their language.
I think he definitely throws in.
That's not coincidence.
No, it's not.
But it wouldn't be the one in the letter because the letter was mailed, right? And so they wouldn't have the original letter there. So there must be some other document that the specimen in the letter was copied.
I came with Chris here from Sunstone, so I'll get a little lecture.
What's this? That's pretty fascinating. I was just, did you, I've been so busy, I didn't notice, did you actually send me the revised version of the paper?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But
okay, I thought there was an attachment to what you sent me, but
I sent you, I only really got around to revising like the first half.
you only what?
I only got around to revising the first half because I had to work on my son's stuff.
It's essentially
Right. Well, that's my issue.
Created an alphabet and grammar in order to translate a document. I would
There's
expect
Wade Englund with Mike Ash, Chris Smith, David Bokovoy.
but they're not. They don't line up. We know that these are not Egyptian characters, so why am I creating an alphabet?
We're talking about Will Schryver's presentation.
Not taken from the papyrus, right? These are very basic graphics. So, for example, like a right angle, and then a different right angle, and then a straight line, and then a horizontal straight line. And Joseph Smith had this idea that Egyptian characters were comprised of multiple component parts, and each component part had an independent meaning. So when he's providing these basic graphemes, he's essentially providing a tool to break down Egyptian characters and then say, okay, we have a right angle here in this character, and so that means this. So he's providing a lexicon to the basic graphemes that comprise the Egyptian character.
Yeah, but you notice when he does that, he also gives you the main character on which the component parts are derived.
Not in that section, though, of the Egyptian alphabet.
Yeah, but if you look at all the characters, particularly the ones that came before the Egyptian papyri even showed up, that gives us a clue. These are not Egyptian characters. There are some characters that are Egyptian, but why are we creating an Egyptian alphabet that contains non-Egyptian characters? It just beggars belief.
Well, it seems like an analogy would be how Japanese understood Chinese characters. It's still kanji, but they wanted a phonetic alphabet, and so they strip. As Chris said, you strip it. You're saying, look, we want more letters here, so we'll take this and we'll say this one has a larger concept made up of smaller concepts, so each little part becomes its own little letter. And so yes, it's not Egyptian to an Egyptologist, but just this kind of where Egyptian is just a composition of several characters. It's Egyptian nonetheless.
Plus, he's understood the thing as if there was such thing as Reformed Egyptian as well, which, I mean, in his mind, that could have very well been that type of
And some of those characters from that section come from the Anthem transcript.
But see, that's the question is, are those things in there portions of other characters, or are they actual, just little made-up characters? If they are made-up characters, then this is not a
actual characters.
Well, like you said,
they're always made-up characters.
Right.
It's not real Egyptian. It's a made-up character that Joseph Smith, at least something what Chris saying, is a made-up character which Joseph Smith assumes is Egyptian.
Well, what I mean by that,
Why would he do that if he had all the papyri, though?
a main character that's divided into parts, and we give meaning to each of those parts. We have a drawing of this part of it, and an explanation drawing of this part. But we don't know that each of these characters are actually parts of an Egyptian main character. These may be just simply things that were made up, and we kind of figured that out how, because the Phelps letter beforehand had some of these very characters prior to the alphabet and things even being made up. Which tells us this is not an Egyptian character. This is a, well, let's call it pure language or a cipher or something, but
It's Phelps Egyptian. Let's call it that.
let's call it whatever we want. All we know is that this stuff came from somewhere other than the papyri. And if it came from somewhere other than the papyri and it's not Egyptian, how can we use that then to translate Egyptian? And it would be like if I took Romulan characters and gave them to somebody who was Chinese and had them try to translate English from the Romulan characters. You just can't do that.
I see what you're saying.
But real quick though, because I have a little about the papers. Are those made-up characters, the Phelps Egyptian? Do their translated portions turn up in the Book of Abraham?
No.
Okay, well then it begs. But then
The
you could.
characters showed up on the alphabet
Yeah,
with the different
So
translations.
the only reason I'm pointing this, and I really like Schryver's. Schryver's.
Your father.
My father, my adopted father for the moment. I mean, I find it really interesting. I like it, but my main point is you can't say, well, those don't appear on the manuscript. Well, okay, they only appear in the manuscript, and that's why they don't appear in the Book of Abraham either, because as they were using the alphabet to translate the manuscript, if it's symbols that don't appear on the manuscript, then don't end up on the Book of Abraham. Does that make sense?
They do end up in the Book of Abraham.
I thought you said they didn't.
No, the translations aren't,
The translation portion.
but the characters are.
I thought you said the characters weren't.